So all right, so we'll be designing this little section here on Apple's watch part of its website. What is nice about this is that we'll also be doing an animation, because the animation is the fun part of this little section that you see. So as you can see, the bands move from the right hand side to the left hand side, whilst the face of the watch is still in the middle. I'm going to refresh it again so you can see. So that is, let's design this and also do the animation. Okay, so I'm going to show you first what I did. So this is what I did. Let me refresh again so you can see. All right, so showing you Apple's website, refresh that, show you what I did like that. So so I already created this just to make sure that it works before I come here and then I don't know what I'm talking about. So first, let's create a page. Let's call this Apple wristband, and just name, create a page, and then you publish it. Then let's head into WordPress development. Remember, this what we'll be using here is Elementor containers. Containers are only for experimental purposes. They are not meant for live website. So do not use containers on your live website unless you are ready to face all the bugs that comes with it. So this, since that is out of the way, first let's create a main container that is going to have everything inside. So there's the main container for the section. You can call this one watch for the main container. Let's make the width 1440. All right, so that is the width for the main container. The next thing to do is to add another container inside. So I'm going to add another container. Make sure this container is full width. So the full width of the child container that we just added, I'm going to call this design container. So there's a child container of the main container. When it is set to full width, it inherits the width of its parent container, which is the watch container. So let's go back to Apple's page. Over here you can see that the child container has a color of gray. So let's find out what this color is. So I just copied the color using an extension. So come here, click on the child container, go to style, background, type just normal color, click on this and then paste this container. Just make sure that you have your hash over there. Right, so now we have the gray color. Let's give the watch container some breathing space. We're just gonna go in here, give it a top of 50 and then a bottom of 50. That is nice. Okay, good. As you can also see, this one also has a pattern top and bottom. So we're gonna go back into the design, click on the child container called the design container, go to advanced, and then we unlink the pattern, give the top 50, let's give it a 90, top at 90, and then the bottom at 90. Making sure that we're giving the whole design some breathing space. So next thing that we're going to do is have these texts and then the button over here. I'm going to show you how to create that gradient button. So first, let's take text, go in here, pick a heading, put it inside the child container, and then add this text. All right, so after adding the text, we're going to leave this one as H2, go to advanced setting, make sure that this is centered in the center. The next thing to do is to go back here and then copy the rest of these texts. Okay, so this text, it looks like it is just one long text that has a break at the end. So we're just going to copy that and we're going to do the same thing. Go in here, we're going to duplicate the old text. So duplicate this and then we come to edit and then we paste in the new text that we just found. Okay, as you can see, the text has there are two texts on different lines, but you can see it in the design because we don't have the HTML code. So we're just going to type in this HTML code to break the text into two. All right, so now this text is broken into two on two separate lines. Just make sure that it looks like that. It is centered. So the next then is this button. So we're going to go back to click on this and then look for button. Put button right there. Click on the button, go to advanced, and then make sure that the server line is centered. All right, now we're going to change the font for this. Make sure that the font here is Raleigh all the way. Give it to that, copy, and then paste. Over here, make sure that the color is black. The text size is 28. Here too, the text size is 48. Make sure that the color also is black. And then let's fix the line height. Let's give it like a 52. Probably a 50 should be nice. Okay, that should be good for that. 600, everything looks good over there. The next one is the button. So you click on the button, then we go to style. Make sure that the text color is black. You can see from here. Let's copy this text, create your style, go to content. The button is still clicked. The text that we're going to put it in as this. So next then is to design what we have. The background color as white. So that's the background color. The next then is to give it a gradient border. So over here we have border type. You can select solid, but then you don't get a chance to add a gradient to this. So we're not going to use this. We're not going to do that gradient using this. So we just go back and then put this one back to none. So we don't have a border here. The next thing to do is to go to advanced. We're going to add a custom code, and then in the CSS we're going to select the button. So type in select, and then you open your curly brackets. The next then is to find a website that can make you gradient. What I'm going to use is this website. It's called cssgradient.io. I already made this a while back, so I already have this over here. But as you can see, you can put in, like, you can click and then add more, and then all of that. So you can just click and then add the section. I need that 4 sections. When you go back to apples, you can see that there's one, this yellow, and this orange, and then there's a blue, and then there's a green right here. So that's the same thing that I've done. I'm going to come here. You see this background, just copy this, and then let's go to the CSS. So over here we're going to paste, I'm going to add a background to this. So you're going to see background. So we're just going to make sure that we have a margin of like 2, or probably let's give it a border of 4, right? Okay, so a border of a pattern of 4 to make sure that we can see the background. So from here, what we're going to do is make sure that you can see this one. It has a radius. So we're going to go back to the button, go back to style, and then give it a normal border radius of 25. So you can see that now. You can see that the whole border. Okay. So we're going to go back into advanced, and we're going to give the background that we also given. We're going to give it a radius. So go back, click on enter, type in border radius, and then we're going to give it 25 pixel for the radius. Cool. All right, so it looks like we have created this little animation. Looks like our border is a bit thick, so we're going to go back into layout, change this one to a 2. That's good. So that should be that. When you hover on the button, you can see it turns blue. So make sure that your button is selected. Go back to style, and then over here you can do hover. Make sure the text color is changed to a blue that you fancy. That looks like a purple. Make sure it's a blue. All right, I'm gonna leave that. I'm not gonna stress myself with that blue. So that is that for the top part. The next thing that we are going to do is to have these images over here. So first, I'm going to add container in here. Make sure that it is not outside the design container. It has to be inside the design container. So put it right underneath this button. So that is the first container. Make sure we call this one image container. Image container. And then the next thing to do is to make sure that it is full width, covering the full length of the child container called the design container. So the next thing to do is to have another container inside. And then you're gonna also make this one full width. Then we can name this one wristband container. All right. The next thing we're going to do is to add an image. Yeah, just make sure the image, when you add it first, it might get into the wristband container, but you don't want that. You want it to be in the image container. So, all right. So both of them should be in the image container, just like that. All right. So this wristband container is going to have the wristband. I'm just going to copy this and paste it inside that. Come on here and then click on wristband. So wristband is selected. The next thing is this image should be the image of the face of the watch. So let's now name this one so that everything looks good. This one, we call it watch face. Great. Call this one wrist band. Nice. All right. So we have the watch face and then we have the wristband. Now click on the wristband again. And then full. The reason why you have two containers over here is because we need the container to be able, we need this wristband to be able to move from left to right. For us to be able to do that, we need two containers. When I tried one container, it didn't really suffice, but two container was able to do that. So so the image is clicked. We have to make sure that the image is really huge. To do that, as you can see, this is how it looks. So we click on the image, go to style, and then give this one, I think 200 should be good. All right. So as you can see, as soon as I made this to 200, the image spilled out of the container itself. Let's make sure that this container is hidden. Then I'm going to come in here. Make sure this is open, right? And then this container is hidden. All right. So come in here and then look for this. So I'm going to take this very image. Let's go to transform, right? And go to scale. Okay, we're not going to use scale. Let's go to offset left and right. All right. Okay, that is good. The next thing that we are going to do, even before that, let me look at what happens when you change this one to, let's say, 600, right? And then fill cover, right? Then go back to transform scale. So as you can see, there's an issue that you might face if you do this. Like the image is cut off at a certain point. So you can't really do that. So that one you can do. So that is one thing that you cannot do. The next thing, so we're just gonna leave this one at 200, which is fine. Or you can even close this one up. You can come back to scale. You can use scale to also try and then figure this out. So okay, scale. Push this onto the side. Then you need to open this up. Make sure that the minimum height is, it's not that bad. Then it's in the middle. Then you can go back in here and then you can click on this image, go to transform. Just want to make sure that you are able to move this left and right. See, you're able to move it left and right. Okay, so that is one. So now let's go back and see. Okay, it's cut off on this side, which looks pretty nice. The next thing we're going to do is, so how do we do this? We have two containers. This container is has the wristband inside, and then the main image container has the face of the watch inside. For us to be able to move the wristband back and forth, we place it inside the container, and then this main container, which has the wristband container, has the overflow hidden so that the image wouldn't spill out. Okay, so we click back. So this is fixed. The next thing is this image. So the face of the watch, I'm going to use margins. So that's 400. And put this onto a negative. 500. 600. All right, so we're going to leave it here, and then we're going to change the width of we're going to change the width of the face. So make it around like so. All right, and then go back to here, change this into 500, 570. Okay, now we can bring it down. All right, and then just go back here and then make this a bit bigger. And go back to advanced and then move this up a little. The size is still not fixed. And the size a bit more. Right, just make the size a little big on that side. All right. Okay, now it looks good. So now we've been able to place the face of the watch right on top of the bands. So we saved that, and then let's preview how this looks. All right, so now it looks this way. So it looks like we have finished the first phase of the design, which is creating the layout of design. Next thing that we're going to do now is to animate this design. Make sure that the bands move from right to left, so that when they scroll, they don't get cut off on the other side. So let's call this a they. But before we go, I'm just going to make some containers at the top so that we'll be able to see. I'm just going to leave that. Okay, let this one stay here like this. I'm going to click on this and make sure this is 100 viewport. Make sure everything sits in the center. All right, great. All right, so first one, now we're going to go back to the back end, and then we're going to use a tool called Motion.Page to create this animation. So let's click on Motion.Page. If you haven't used Motion.Page before, when you come here, this might be a bit different. You might be asked to put in your keys to activate the plugin. After doing that, the next thing that you have to do is to click on a new timeline. So a new timeline is where your animation is going to sit. Before you do anything, make sure that the right page has been selected. Look over here. This is where your pages are. So the page that we need is called Apple Wristband. So click over here, and then we'll look for Apple Wristband. Okay, so now we've selected our page. The next thing is to give it a reasonable name. So we're going to call it Apple. I'm going to call it Wristband Animate. All right, so that is good for our wristband animation, just to be safe. All right, so we've selected a page, and then we've named the timeline. This is your timeline. So this is where your animation is going to live, over here. So we've given it a name called wristband animation. We've selected the right page too. the next thing, the logic behind this Apple design over here is that when you scroll, let me refresh. When you scroll to this part and you are in the viewport of this whole design, then the animation plays. So we're going to use that same logic. Go back into Motion.Page, and then we're going to say that, okay, when we scroll to that part of the website, which is scroll to this viewport, we can make the viewport a bit, let's say start from here, and then make this one also go up over here. Right, so when we are within, you see these red lines, when we're within, when we start heading to this red line, let things start coming to being. So over here we say when we enter into the scroller. So when we enter into here, and then it ends when we are fully visible. All right, so those are the parameters that we're going to give. We also make sure that this animation is not being played over and over again. It's just a one-time animation that when someone comes on the website, that is what they see when they scroll to the bottom. It doesn't repeat itself again unless you come back to the page. So that's why we will select play only once on scroll down. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to select the wristband. But one thing that I forgot to do is to give the wristband a class. So I'm going to go back here, click on this wristband, and then give it a class of wristband. So we're going to use this class to target the wristband. So let me just update it. Go back to Motion.Page. Already saved something. So I'm just going to go in here and say, good, do this. And then remember, if you want to target, so where do you put the class that you want to target? They have, Motion.Page has this thing called animation selector. So the selector is the class. You can either use a class or an ID. So going back to Elementor, you can see that there's an ID portion over here. If we added an ID name, we'll be able to target the ID. But now we're using a class, so we are just going to target a class. Go back to Motion.Page, and then let's target this class. For you to target a class, make sure that you put your period sign, and then you add the name of the class. Just like in any design, if you know how to write code, or if you have any knowledge of home CSS. So that's the same thing. So we're going to target that class. Right, so let me just refresh this page. Right, the page has been refreshed. So when you hover on this, it tells you, let's make sure we're selecting the right thing. Wristband, right. Okay, so wristband has been selected, which is that. So what we're going to do is that we're going to say that when we come into this viewport, move the wristband from the right to the left. So we're going to move the wristband, we're going to move the red all the way to your right. For you to do that, you have to click on translate. So in this translate, the X is going to move things on the X axis, and then the Y is going to move things on the Y axis. We want to make sure that the X axis, the one that falls on the floor, move all the way 10%. So as you saw, he moved 10% to the right and then came back. Let me replay this for you. Great. So this from, as you can see, this from tells you where it starts from. So it starts from 10%. You can make it whatever number that you want. You can make it 20%. Then it's going to go all the way to that side. You can make it 100%. So within 1 second, this animation, so this timeline over here, so you see the timeline has like percentiles on them. So you are saying that within 1 second, the animation should run from 100% to 0%. You don't have to put the 2 over there if the 2 is not a different number than the original position. The original position of the wristband is 0. It starts from 0 and it goes up. So you are saying that right now you don't want it to start from 0. You want it to start from 100% and then come to 0. So you don't have to go in and say that, okay, translate to 0. Even though you can do that, but you don't have to do that since it's already logically picking that one up. So we're just going to do that for this tutorial's sake. then we are saying that within 1 second, move from 100 to a 0. So let's play that. See how fast it is? Really, that's not what the Apple's website looks like. It looks like something that is really that is at probably 10%, or let's say 20%. Let's save that, go back, and then play this again. Good. Okay, so now we have animated this this thing. We're gonna add a little more tweaks away. We're gonna say let's ease this. Let's make this slow so that it is smooth and nice. Beautiful. All right, so we've saved this. One thing with this plugin is that when you come back over here and then you refresh this, it's not going to happen in the editor. You are not going to see it over here. It's only going to happen when you go back to the live canvas, where it is when you open the page. All right, did you see that? Great. So now we've been able to make this little design here, which is really nice on Apple's website. We've been able to also recreate that using WordPress, Elementor, and Motion.Page. So these three, WordPress as a development environment, with Elementor as a design tool, and then with Motion.Page as the animation plugin. Right now, there's nothing else that needs to be done. We've been able to achieve what we wanted to do. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you can definitely leave them down below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please kindly do that, so that I'll be able to make more videos, and then YouTube will be able to also show the videos to others. As always, my name is Nyako. This is OB Studios.